For the past 3 years, I've been waiting to show you something truly special.
A creature tale like no other in video form.
Oakburn Opus is one of the most inventive and frightening horror projects I've come across on YouTube.
Back silhouette.
I'd rather not bury the lead. The reason I put the word masterpiece in quotations for the title of this video is because I simply don't think Oakburn Opus is one. However, this isn't a video about how everyone else is wrong about the series and you're gay for liking it. No, some people are just gay and like it, and that's great. No, this video is about perspective, and an evolving one at that. But before we get into the video, of course I'd like you to go to Red Diamond's channel and check out the Oakburn Opus series yourself, as well as anything else that's on there that might interest you. And also, go ahead and check out Nexpo, Nightmind, and Wendigoon's videos on the topic as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. Part 1 of Oakburn Opus begins with the explanation that the manuscripts and tapes documenting the disappearance of the entire population of a village called Old Oakburn are what this video is based on. We proceed to evidence 1, where, honestly, my favorite part of the entire series occurs. That's not to say it's all careening downhill from here, but I just adore this part. There's a dark melancholy emanating from the image of a lone, haunting visage of this flutist, surrounded by an oppressive cold, playing a hollow siren serenade with a tone so deep and daunting that it makes me sad come. Images of the village convey the reach of this figure's melodies, and he is welcomed in. And then the spinny loading thing pops up. Look, I might be nitpicking about this, and I will do that some more in this video just to let you know, but this comes off to me more like inserting a trope than really conveying that a supernatural presence is fucking with my YouTube video. I just don't buy that there's a power here corrupting it. This loading wheel trick is starting to kind of feel like a online horror Wilhelm scream to me. When it doesn't fit, it's just kind of stands out. Moving on, manuscript text tells us how the people of Old Oakburn adored and respected the flutist. We then see a symbol that will appear many times in the series. This is a good symbol, simple yet evocative. I'm gonna put it right up there with the McDonald's logo, because if you turn that one upside down, it kind of looks like a nice pair of tits. These sketchings of the flutist that come up next are so cool. There's a kind of smoky texture to these images. A depiction of the symbols permeates, all set to a low, beautiful, almost hum of the flute, and into the minds of those surrounding. He hid them under a veil of reality, impossible to breathe, beyond existence. Look, I'm a lyricist. That breath line screams to me, this sounded really cool, so I put it in. And I respect it, I agree. The people of Old Oakburn grow fonder of the flutist's presence, as he adopts their costumes, but gradually breaks the walls of their minds down. The author of these manuscripts are unknown, but were recovered by Martha Astor in 2002. And now we're on to Evidence 2, which includes a tape labeled The Magnum Opus. In 1997, the flutist is prepared to perform his magnum opus for the villagers as we hear them gathered to listen. This audio is also recovered by Martha Astor. Everyone applauds the performance as we see a shot of an obelisk with that cool symbol on it. As everyone claps and cheers, we see the obelisk symbol light in a red hue as we're told to follow the music. We then begin a section of the video in which you are shown two side-by-side images and are asked to choose the path that would follow the music. And I have a few questions about the whole segment that we're watching. What is the deal with the stone lighting up? Because we see it lighting up while people applaud, so I would think that maybe their cheers are powering it or something. But then it says to follow the music, which leads to the lake, which people in the audio are already at. Is the stone lighting and then the villagers following the music before the audio? Because why sequence it that way and line up the applause with the stone lighting? I feel like it implies that their enjoyment is having an effect, not that this is what calls them. It feels out of order to me. And also, why would the entire village that apparently loves this flutist need to be led to the lake via music anyway? If that's what's happening, why would he need to lure them? I mean, couldn't he just tell them? Well, okay, he doesn't speak. He uses wind and music to communicate, but couldn't he just toot his flute and be like, hey, yo, fam, show up at like 7, and they'd be like, yeah, all right, I'm there. It just feels unnecessary to me and just an excuse to do the side-by-side, follow the music section because it's cool. And yeah, it's cool, I guess. I can't help but feel like it's a little stapled on. As the music leads us to the lake, we see this sick-ass shot of the flutist raising his hands as music drones on, and then another loading wheel shows up. To be fair, this one is actually used effectively to build anticipation for the flutist's face reveal that we're seeing. I do feel like you could come up with something different to make this work, but it works here, so it's fine. I won't go on about it. Also, look at the motherfucker's face. Oh, that's killer. Immediately, we cut to the audio from the cassette tape, and yeah, things have gotten a little fucked up. All 1,043 residents of Old Oakburn disappeared overnight. Scarce evidence was found, and no one really knows what happened until 2003. That's the end of part 1, and I think it's really good, actually. A few bumps in the road that I personally noticed, but hey, for a beginning of a series, this is pretty fucking good. An overall fun ride with an interesting story and concept that are pretty well conveyed. Part 2 opens up with a very nice, quiet shot of a house in winter. Almost serene in its... Oh, shit! He ain't gonna be in part 3. December 10th, 2003. The Itosafik Police Department receive a call from the Lebedev household. The caller confesses to murder. Jackson and Oliver, the Lebedev brothers, were the victims, and the criminal is a John Doe. Evidence 3 of the series is based on an interrogation by Detective Martha Astor, a person we've heard of before. In it, the John Doe recalls being led by the sound of a wind instrument, likely a clarinet or bassoon, I would assume, emanating from Lake Oakburn. Oh wait, that wind instrument's probably a flute. That makes sense. Because we see multiple depictions of the flutist throughout this episode. Unless my man is a multi-instrumentalist, I'd love to see this dude bust out a guitar and just fucking go ham on that shit. Falling under the spell of the flutist, John Doe wanders madly through the wilderness for 5 days, until coming upon a house with an unlocked door. Before the gruesome event occurs, we are given the name of either the flutist or some higher entity. Marv Pius? That is a clunky name. John Doe enters the house with a pickaxe that he, found by a tree or something. Doesn't matter. He hits Jackson Lebedev in the thigh, and his brother Oliver drags him to the dark room at gunpoint. As a reward for helping his brother, Oliver gets a pickaxe to the brain. Then John Doe shoots Jackson dead. We then see a symbol that has flashed multiple times throughout this episode of a triangle with multiple circles around it attached by lines. I'm very articulate, you could tell. A stark counter to the symbol of the flutist. I don't mean for this video to be a fully sequenced, so that nothing gets spoiled kind of video and the layout of it, so I'll just go ahead and let you know that this symbol is actually for Martha Astor. And the reason that we see these symbols throughout this part is that the murders were committed by the John Doe in order to give Martha a message. Go to the lake, visit the drowned city, or you and those you love will drown too. Part 2 ends with this really cool sounding song called this and a car driving back down the road. We then see the Lebedev house and are told that the brothers actually weren't found in the state described by the John Doe, but were in fact drowned. Why? This is what I meant by part 2 being almost really good. You have a simple and effective story about the flutist manipulating a man to brutally murder 2 brothers to lure Martha Astor so that she can be given a message. Perfect. No notes. But then you fucking slap a sticky note at the end that says, actually, they drowned or some shit. And I'm just left asking, what is the point of that? Like, I get drowning as a whole motif of the series, but it doesn't have to be everything. The flutist enthralled an entire village and led them to their disappearance. It's perfectly logically consistent that he could also drive a man to kill 2 people to give a message. Did their bodies change after death? Did the John Doe hallucinate in his explanation? Was John Doe real? I don't think this ever gets explained. I understand that not everything in a horror series needs to be explained, but after watching something like this and to just have at the end, oh, this is what happened, isn't that spooky? It's inconsistent, what a mystery. I understand I'm being very harsh about this part, and feel free to disagree and think I'm a fucking buffoon. I'm just so disappointed when it was right there. It was so good. And then, didn't matter. Fuck me, I guess. Anyway, now it's time to move on to part 3. We learn that old Oakburn has been empty for 5 years, the road there becoming overgrown and hard to frequent, but Martha Astor is going down it. During the text explaining this, we see a trend that will persist through this episode. Text spaced out in a broken up manner. This is another one of those things I don't like. Words aren't missing or anything, it's just done to look, I don't know. I really don't. It looks like Mad Libs. We see shots from inside a car looking down a road in a dilapidated street, and after Red Diamond presents, we see this. I'm sorry. I know there are actual 3D modelers credited and who worked on this, and it does look good, but I'm not playing Need for Speed Underground 2. I'm watching an online horror series, and this sticks out like a sore thumb to me. There are more uses of 3D in this video, and most are well used and tastefully obscured to look great. Some aren't. I appreciate the work that went into this, but it doesn't look good to me. I did think it was kind of funny how Wendigoon specifically reacted to this scene and title drop.
We are now outside of the car. The camera pushes in on the fog in front of us before it cuts to our title card, Oakburn Opus 3. Again, just so much of the aesthetics of this series kill me. The Silent Hill-esque town, and then the bold letters and the presentation and the demonic imagery and the monsters and everything. This is so up my alley.
Perspective is an interesting thing, and he's obviously more bought in than I am. As Martha drives along the road, we get excerpts from her audio journal. Martha Astor is going to conduct a solo investigation of the stone sigil she theorizes is a tomb. She feels a connection to the symbol and believes there is something for her to discover there, warning others not to follow in her footsteps. Martha parks just outside of the forest containing the stone sigil, and what time of day is it? We were in a town or village and it was daytime but foggy, and then we see her driving down the road and then it's daytime again? This is the second time things have been out of order, and I can't think of a good reason why. Anyway, moving on. She approaches the sigil and makes her way down a hatch in front of it that closes on its own once she's down there. The whole place is covered in black moss and smells of rot from fish carcasses, but Martha makes her way through the ruins to find what lurks below. She comes to what looks like a door, and upon entering, this happens. This is fucking awesome. Dissonant screams haunt the soundscape. I love the warping of the floor like a heat mirage off pavement and those frantic eyes by the door at the end of the hall. It's moments like this that resonate with me and help me understand why people look past the things that I just struggle to. And there's more good stuff to come. Beyond the door is a hallowed-like room with a lone book on an altar, which is evidence for the Book of Marvpius 2. Damn, I ain't even read the first book yet. Now I'm gonna be all lost with the characters and, there's gonna be all these spoilers. Man, I knew I should have picked up the first book of Marvpius at the Barnes & Noble. The Book of Marvpius 2 details the price paid by someone to save his kin, and Marvpius's descent to a snowy city that would be swallowed into the Down City, the gloom of the lake, the forever breathing necropolis. This section is filled with great imagery and dire poetry complemented with ancient religious musical chant that my summary does little justice to. It's good stuff. The book then directly tells Martha to turn around so that the serpent may speak to her through her brother. And we get one of the coolest sections in this entire series. We see the flutist standing there before Martha, but she sees through him and also sees this fish creature, which I believe to be Marvpius. I say this because the flutist bears the symbol of Martha Astor's brother, Madhouse. So what's seen past him must be the serpent. Except it's not really a serpent. All of the grandeur presented and text and poetic language of this demonic, powerful serpent is representative of a being that, to me, looks pathetic, trapped, scared, lonely. It needs a desperate man willing to trade his soul for his sister's life to do his bidding. Madhouse speaks to his sister of when she died. He sold his soul, and now they both endure eternally, himself cursed to choked suffering. Then Marvpius speaks through him as Martha flees, that he will bring hell upon the earth that damned him, and they will scream his name. We see that Martha has been alive since 1852. Madhouse lived 1852 to 1897, and that old Oakburn was founded the day of his death. Martha's findings were discovered in 2010 and were declassified in 2024. The second half of this episode makes me wonder if it's even worth my criticism of the things in the series that bother me. Oakburn Opus is good, but seeing the biggest names in online horror heap nothing but praise upon a series that I find to be flawed, it just irked me enough to make this video.
The cinematic eldritch experience of Oakburn Opus is truly special.
Like I said, I haven't seen a series that has captured me this much in a while.
The Vanishing of Oakburn is a tale that I truly believe is one of the most unique, haunting, and cryptic that I have ever seen. It's an atmospheric, folk horror tale with hints of Lovecraftian influence that truly lends to a type of horror that I've not yet seen in the analog horror genre.
What Red Diamond has made transcends any idea of analog horror and directly enters the territory of film.
In my opinion, Red Diamond has truly crafted something special here.
I don't truly know what their perspective is, but if I may assume, they must be so enamored by the high highs of this series that they're able to just look past anything wrong with it. But I'm not. I'm impressed by those highs, but I personally can't let go of things like the ending to episode 2 that feels like it just trivializes itself. That is the end of the numbered parts of Oakburn Opus, and now we'll move on to Oakburn Opus Lies. I'm sure there won't be anything in this section that will, yeah. This part opens on 2 gravestones, of which we would find out are 2 of many built for the lost occupants of Old Oakburn, and we see text saying, "I will lead him down on the road I set." Then we cut to a room where a phone rings. It's Martha Astor calling a new character, Anthony Carter, to not do what he's about to. Based on sounds we hear while we gaze at a candle and text we see on screen of many condolences, Anthony lost his family to the Oakburn magnum opus and is attempting to end himself by playing Russian roulette. The 2 gravestones at the beginning of the video are new and for Catherine, Anthony's wife, and Ashley, his daughter. Unable to move on and nearing the end himself, the evil of Oakburn will take hold. They leave a package at his door containing a tape and a letter. The tape contains an excerpt from the Book of Morpheus, Part 1. Oh, hey, look, Part 1! I didn't need to go to the Barnes & Noble after all. Woo! Saved me a trip. I could just stay in and do not much. This book was written by Professor Fyodor Petruo-Lebedev. I don't know how much of that first part of his name I got right, but I'm going to say I nailed it. Also, you'll notice that he has the same surname of the 2 brothers that were murdered in Part 2. This excerpt details a grieving mother communing with otherworldly powers to raise her children, her twins. This was the mother of Martha and Madhouse. 4 shapes that make up the sigils seen throughout the story are shown, and their meanings can be connected to the twins. The purpose of the tape and letter are to tempt Anthony down the same path that the mother took, use the sigils, and bring his family home. Anthony decides to take matters into his own hands. He drives to Old Oakburn, his own home, where we see a pickaxe outside by a pile of rocks. I guess we found out where the pickaxe came from. I'm sure that'll be the only thing explained. Entering his home, seeing it just the way it was left, Anthony goes to his daughter's room and reads an illustrated diary his daughter wrote in while he was away. This diary details an injured flutist being helped by the villagers and subsequently entrancing them. The flutist joined Ashley on a walk outside, detailing how he helped found the city. But then there was a time of wrath where much of the city burned, and he left to a dark and gloomy place he now wishes Ashley would never see. He asks if she'd like to see something beautiful, and brings her to the lake to see a swan. Ashley says her father told her there is no life in this lake, but the flutist says death and himself walk in tandem. While I do like the presentation of this sequence, I can't help but notice that the art depicted is very inconsistent in quality. There are sketches easily done by a 13-year-old with talent intermixed with very artistically done pieces of a skill level far beyond the others. I don't know if these were supposed to be from somewhere else like the Book of Morpheus and they're interwoven into it. But even if that's true, I feel like that takes away from the purpose of this section. I feel like this would have been more effective with the 13-year-old sketch style trying to convey as best as they could the text that they're writing and the events that happened. October 9th was the last recorded message between Anthony and his wife Catherine, the day before the magnum opus. Anthony tells her that he won't be home for a while and to let Ashley know that he's sorry and he loves her. This explains why he wasn't there to be lost with his family. Oops, Morpheus didn't get everybody in the village. Looks like we got ourselves a straggler. But not for long, because Anthony is about to do a ritual. Ooh. In his family's attic, he has lit candles and drawn a very familiar symbol on the ground. He kneels and calls out to that which would save his family as the sigil ignites, and the altar before him does as well. This sequence is awesome. As the flames go out, Anthony hears a breath and turns to see a figure briefly in the window, asking him to follow the melody. The melody leads him to the lake, to the flutist who offers to reunite Anthony and his family in slumber under the water in exchange for making him a vessel of Morpheus. Anthony accepts and becomes the one who killed the Lebedev brothers. This whole episode has been an explanation of the events of Part 2. Martha Astor and other police agents go to the Lebedev house, and they ask Martha what she wants to do. She says our people are fed up with these nightmares. Bring their bodies to the lake and make sure they sink, as she kills the husk that was once Anthony Carter. We then learn that she falsified the police reports that said the Lebedev brothers drowned. Now I know what you're thinking. And you would be right. I was introduced to the Oakburn Opus series from the videos by Nexpo and Nightmind. Nightmind's covering the series as far as I have myself up to this point. I had actually listened to his video while I was at work, and I didn't absorb as much of the information as I thought I did, but I did come away with an interest in checking it out for myself. After all, he and Nexpo had glowing reviews for this series, so I couldn't help but be curious. And on first viewing, it didn't live up to it for me. I felt a dissonance between my perspective on this series and the broader narrative of the quality of it, and I just felt really frustrated by that. When Wendigoon's video came out, it seemed to reinforce this idea, not stated specifically in the wording, that Oakburn Opus was some kind of masterpiece, but I didn't see it. But also, Oakburn Opus never really asked me to view it that way. So I decided to watch the series again and script a video about my differing perspective as I went along. But I did not foresee my mistake. Like I said before, I didn't absorb all the series' details from the Nightmind video, and my first time watching the series, I got sidetracked during Magnum Opus Lies and hadn't returned to it. I also stopped watching the Wendigoon video when it came up to the point of Lies, because I wanted to watch it myself while scripting. I wrote the script for each episode right after watching them, and I mean, I was finding myself enjoying the series more than I did the first time. I will say that. I enjoyed part 2 so much, but was let down by the ending that, with my vague recollection, I arrogantly assumed wasn't explained. I wrote these frustrations and even doubled down on them after part 3. I decided I was done writing for that day after part 3, so I took a walk, I had some lunch, and decided that I would relax and watch Lies just to get the idea of the episode fresh in my head before I wrote it. And boy, was I humbled. I tried to rationalize my feelings. I tried to poke holes or make it seem like it was an inconsistent explanation just to let what I'd said stand, but I couldn't. Red Diamond's writing was airtight. I thought about revising this script or scrapping the video idea altogether, but I was fortunate, not a genius, very fucking lucky that I happened to title this script A Different Perspective on a Masterpiece. The difference in perspective being the changing of my own during the process is not at all what I expected going into this. So I left the script as is to showcase my own change of opinion, my own change of perspective. Without my biggest criticism of Oakburn Opus, the small issues I have with it don't really add up to much when compared to the overall quality of the rest of it. Now my perspective aligns more with Nexpo, Nightmind, and Wendigoon.
There's so much knowledge here that pieces itself together to create a satisfying narrative where we can clearly see there is an architect behind the scenes of it all, but he doesn't show his hand. The story never gets too excited and reveals its hand too early so that we know that it knows what it's doing. Instead, Red Diamond takes his time, paces it out, and because of it, the whole thing feels satisfying.
While I still don't think I'd personally call this a masterpiece, it is very, very good, and I'm excited to see what Red Diamond does next. In fact, while finishing this script, something actually did come out. I'll probably get to that after I'm finished putting out this video, though. You know, just want this to be done. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. You could comment about how I was dumb and impatient when writing this script, and you'd be right, so that's fine. Please subscribe to the channel. There's going to be all kinds of stuff coming out this year. I make a lot of music. I put out an album recently. And take a look at the 3 content creators I discussed in this video. That would be, again, Nexpo, Nightmind, and Wendigoon. I'll leave links to their videos on this series. And of course, please go to Red Diamond's channel and check out Oakburn Opus for yourself. Who knows? Maybe you'll think it's a masterpiece. Later.